Hi, everybody. My name is Grace Bubeck, and this is a live online conversation in the series of Living from Love. And today I'm speaking with Ellen Emmet. Hi, Ellen.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
And welcome to all of you. Sorry about the delay. Somehow there seem to be technical problems at the moment. I kept getting thrown out of the Hangout myself. So at least right now I'm actually staying. So let's hope it'll stay that way. So we'll be speaking about the body and from a non-dual perspective. And Ellen is a yoga teacher and psychotherapist, and she brings to the work the focus and fascination with the body that's always been there for her. And I must say, I listened to one of her and watched one of her videos where she does this exploration of the body, which is really the yoga she teaches. And it's just very different from anything you'll have come across. So we're planning on this conversation actually being quite experiential, in the sense that Ellen will guide us in little explorations of the body. And so I hope you will enjoy that. I certainly am very curious and very fascinated by this, having explored many things from a non-dual perspective, but not ever really truly the body. So this is new to me too. And yeah, I'm just thrilled to have you with us, Ellen.
Good. It's nice to be with you. I'm just turning my iPhone off because I realized that might be the reason for the feedback.
Oh, okay. That would be wonderful if that was the reason. So thanks for that. So I'd like to start off with a question that that actually one of the viewers sent in beforehand. And just to say, you're always welcome to send a question. She's worried she won't make it on the Hangout, so she wanted to make sure the question got asked. And the question is, what is the body once I understand or have understood that I am not the body? So Ellen, how do you respond to that?
It's actually, I think she took it from something that was on a clip from a little film that Science and Non-Duality, and it was a kind of sentence I said extra, probably taken out of a longer, a longer kind of explanation. But it's a good question. What is the body once I've understood that I am not the body? And I guess the first thing that I want to say is that the understanding that I am not the body, in a way, that exploration, when we conduct that exploration, not just at the level of the mind, but at the level of feelings and tactility and sensation, it automatically delivers the answer. What is the body once I've understood I'm not the body? So in a way, the answer is we have to go see by really exploring the belief that I am the body, that is still playing out at the level of the body, at the level of feelings and sensations. So in a way, I don't want to answer the question, because an answer would be just a word, a concept for the mind. It's really, it's really more the invitation to conduct the inquiry of what am I? What am I when I go to my experience right here, right now, but not my experience in terms of beliefs in the mind, my experience in terms of felt sensations, because the belief in being a separate entity, the belief in separation, it operates on all levels. So it operates obviously at the level of the mind in terms of the thoughts. I am Ellen. I am Grace. I am a woman. I am this age, etc., etc. But it's also, and more importantly, an expression at the level of the body that echoes that belief of the mind. So the body, for most of us, and even after awakening to our true nature, it still echoes the old conditioning of separation, and it takes a very deep exploration to begin to allow the layers that are still kind of operating under the surface, to allow these layers to come up to the surface, to the light of understanding. And it's not a process that is done with the mind, it's a process that is done at the feeling level. I hope I'm making sense.
Yes,
I pause
totally.
and can, yeah.
Can I maybe just chime in with something?
Of course.
Because it occurred to me as today, earlier on, I was just looking, actually I just noticed I was looking at my body, and this reflection came to me that somehow we're the visual sense is the most dominant sense in human beings, for most of us. And so somehow this conditioning to see the body as separate, it's seemingly separate from other bodies, it's seemingly distinct.
Yes.
It's just so deep and so inbuilt that somehow that's what needs undoing, because that's where we start from. We just see this body, and automatically there's a thought that that's me and I'm separate from everybody else.
Yes, we see the body. First, we feel ourselves to be located within a body.
Yes.
And then we see my body, your body, and the visual perception seems to confirm that I am this separate self, limited by this body. But I'm
actually wondering, Ellen, sorry, can I interrupt you for a second? I'm actually wondering whether in the conditioning of a child, it's not actually the seen body and the kind of visual integration of all these movements, that a child sees, a baby sees in a child, and it all of that gets linked to the body.
Yes, I think a small child hasn't yet been told or hasn't learned that he hasn't been given that concept of being a body or of being located somewhere, and his experience is much more fluid, probably less, more porous, less defined, less located. But the process of individualization, of individuating, it's a very natural process. In other words, the fact that right this moment, here we are, Grace and Ellen, right? And I see you on the screen, you see me on the screen, and there is a feeling, there is a kind of, so there's a visual perception, and then there's also a feeling, and for all of us, other people who are maybe attending, there's also a sense of being located, maybe a feeling of somehow being in the body, and that's not, we don't need to get rid of that. That's beautiful. That it's a bit like waves and the waves in the ocean. A wave, once a wave has realized its true nature as being the water, it doesn't have to cease to be a wave, and it doesn't have to cease to enjoy the other waves and to see the other waves, to touch the other waves, to play with the other waves. So I think that, with this yoga, sometimes people think, well, I still see this other body or my body, and it feels real. Well, it is real in a way, but it's reality, and the reality of this other body is the same reality. And there's only one reality. It's just simple.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
However, if there's still a feeling of suffering, if there's still a belief, and that's the trickier, or not the trickier part, well, yeah, the trickier part, the part that we really need to investigate. If like just right this moment, if as I experience what my experience is, if there's a contraction or a feeling of the body having to defend, and the body being me having to defend against this outside world or against this other over there that might be threatening, that is a feeling that is based on the old paradigm of separation, and that can be explored. And in order to explore, I just want to say the main thing, really, the main thing is we don't explore this in a vacuum. The first thing, that needs to be established in whatever the exploration is, whether it's the exploration at the level of the mind or whether it's the exploration at the level of the body, the first thing that we need to establish is that which can't be named, but somehow needs to be turned towards the source, presence, openness, whatever we love, whatever we want to call it. If we don't somehow begin there, forget it. There's no exploration. The first thing to establish in our experience is the presence of awareness. And the way we do that when we're exploring the body is a little bit different, because what would be the experience of awareness from the point of view of the body, So,
well, maybe we just need to start there. Maybe we just need to have a little exploration right here, right now. And
sure.
we'll start from that.
Okay. All right, Grace. Okay, well then let's close our eyes, because in a way it's easier to, although in the yoga later on there would be a very important explorations with the sense perceptions and with the eyes, with the sense of seeing. In the beginning it's nice to work with eyes closed, and yeah, so just allow your eyes to close. And relax. And of course, when I say relax, I don't mean that anything needs to be any different than the way it is. The body doesn't need to relax. The mind doesn't need to relax. The world doesn't need to relax. I think what I mean by relax is simply to allow experience moment by moment, exactly as it is. And experience includes the thoughts and images. That's what we call the mind. The sensations, tactility, energy. That's what we call the body. And of course, the sounds. In this moment mainly the sounds, since we don't have too much of a visual perception, although there is the visual perception behind closed lids. And that's what we call the body, the perceptions. So welcoming the body, the mind, the world, moment by moment. Without any preference or agenda. It's as if we've come into a shrine. We gather around an altar. And to this altar we offer every experience that arises. now, unconditionally. Every breath, every tension, every thought, sound, the sound of this voice. We surrender experience to this invisible altar that bears no name, but that we can call by our heart-chosen name. Perhaps we call it presence or openness or silence. And to this altar we surrender everything without any hope for it to be returned or changed. Or it's the true meaning of sacrifice, body, mind, world, made sacred by being placed upon the altar. And if there's a sense of effort or resistance, it's simply laid down on the altar. Nothing kept. And begin to feel and recognize perhaps that in a way this offering is effortless. There's no effort involved. Any sense of effort is offered. To see and feel right this moment that in you which does the offering, so to speak, that in you which offers, the presence in you that offers, the openness in you that surrenders is the very same presence or openness to which experience is offered. There's just one openness, one presence. Begin to know yourself as this presence. You never were anything other than this presence. And now very gently turning attention towards the experience that we call the body, more specifically. And don't bring any memory of the body along. Don't bring any concept, no idea about the body. Completely innocent and open. Welcoming the body moment by moment. What is the body when I don't have any visual representation for it, when I don't have any concept of it? What is the body when I welcome the body as the sky welcomes the clouds? Feel that right this moment. You're the sky, and the body, a dance of sensations. Just feel the whole range of sensations. Sensation of the weight of the body against whatever the support is. Tingling of the fingers. Vibration of the face. And as soon as I name whatever I name, just remove that name, remove the label, just be with the raw sensation. Movement of the breath. Density. Tension. See that the body, when we just welcome it directly without placing any demands on it, see that it's a flow, really. It's a flow, and it looks nothing like the solid, dense body. It looks and it feels, rather, nothing like the dense, solid body that we often perpetuate in order to echo the belief in separation. In order for myself to feel nice and solid, nice and separate, I have to maintain a lot of tension. A lot of energy needs to be maintained to perpetuate a feeling of a separate self. So right in this moment, I am the sky, I am openness. Free of borders, transparent. And the body is completely free to unravel as it pleases. Give it that freedom. Open the cage for the body. No reason to do this, no agenda, no rush. It's a loving, friendly prayer. Just allow yourself to journey around the body, and when you encounter a sensation that seems to be held, you just open the cage. And you whisper to that sensation, look, or rather feel the openness that surrounds you. Feel the friendliness that surrounds you. And then you just let the body do its thing. Don't be in the body, let the body be in you. Just like the sound of this voice flows in you, so the sensation of the body. Very simple. Feel the sensation of the weight against the chair, against the floor. No knowledge that the floor, the chair, is other than myself. See that you can't really feel or find the boundary where body ends and earth begins. Completely indulge in that. It's very natural. Body, earth, one substance. Very alive, very sensual. Feel the tingling of the hands. You've never seen hands before. Feel the touch of the air, surrounding space, with the sensation of the hands, and same thing, where is the boundary? Where is the edge? Where is the evidence that the space is dead stuff and that it's only the body that is alive? Feel the possibility of the friendliness of the surrounding space. And really allow that tactile sensation of the hands to embrace the surrounding space, and the space merges with the sensation. It's a love affair. It's so simple that the mind kind of never goes there, and in a way doesn't like the simplicity. But the body loves the simplicity. The body is simple. And the question that was posed earlier, what is the body once I know that I'm not the body? May begin to be answered in this kind of exploration. And maybe we gently kind of emerge, and I don't know, Grace, maybe we open our eyes and see what awakens for the mind. Or maybe the mind that was just a little that would be the beginning of an exploration.
That was exquisitely beautiful, Ellen. And you know, I guess I'm tempted to say the heart is simple too. And you know, my own explorations have been in the past, you know, they're opening out. My own explorations were more at the heart level.
Yes.
And the same simplicity is found there. And, you know, the space is really, truly the same space, except that, you know, my focus was more the emotional comings and goings, you know, the emotional things that were passing through.
I guess yes, go ahead. Sorry, Grace.
And you know, what I found with your exploration was that there was just an exquisite intimacy. Like, I was really not aware of there being, of course I have headphones too, so the sound was right in, you know, the sound of your voice was right in the space that seemed to include everything. And you know, this experience of physical sensations, when they're no longer located in what I perceive to be a body, and it was beautiful the way you kind of established this sacred space.
I mean, I think probably what you mean by heart, I don't know I haven't listened to one of your, or experienced your meditations, but I imagine from what you say that what you mean by heart is this, this openness, the awareness.
Yes.
But awareness, the word awareness can be a bit cold, right?
Yes, it's
It
the
evokes,
same sacred space,
yes,
really,
yes,
with maybe just a little heart flavor, a little heart
well,
perfume.
heart for me, because once we know that we don't live in a body, that the notion of a heart becomes a very heart. Really, we mean love. We mean because we,
Yes.
and of course the way love echoes through the body in terms of the body seems to include a radiating, lovely sensation, often around the region of the heart, but. I don't have anything more to say about the heart, but you mentioned emotions. You mentioned emotions, and emotions are very interesting to explore and very, very important to explore because they're sensations, but they're not just sensations. They're what are they? Emotions. They're very, very beautiful appearances. And sometimes in the non-dual circles, emotions, well, certainly not, I don't think you, or maybe, but sometimes emotions, if it's negative emotions, are a sign of being identified, of believing myself to be this body mind. And to a certain extent, that's true, but what do we, that's not helpful. What do we do if anger and sadness, and you get you're told, or you think, oh, according to the non-dual teaching, this is a sign of ignorance, and that doesn't help. And also that it's not the complete truth, is it? Because an emotion is an arising that's a very natural, spontaneous arising, and might carry both the trace of our origin, the trace of our source. It does. It's not that it might. It does, and it will also carry the residual belief, the residual story of me, and it's a very beautiful kind of a beautiful process to allow emotions to fully surface, and then to allow them to return on their own. It's like the path of energy, to allow them to unfold back into openness. But yet we need a certain amount of clarity, discrimination. So it's quite serious. Serious is not the word. A kind of it requires quite a lot of integrity working with emotions, and
I didn't mean to sidetrack us into emotions. It's just that's where I'm joining you from, kind of directionally, and I found the inquiry to be quite similar, except that with emotions, like you say, there's more of a story.
Well, that's
and
the thing
with the body, there's maybe less of a story, but definitely, I find if we include the visual sense, there's that seemingly immediate perception that here is a body.
Well, first,
right here.
Yeah. When you say emotions include the story, yeah. So the emotions, in a way, my teacher used to say, an emotion is a mixture of sensation and a story attached to it, right?
Yes.
And so it can be quite useful to put the story to the side and just tend to the feeling, the sensation aspect of the emotion.
Yes.
And although in a way, you see, I feel like it's a little bit too clinical to do that. I feel like when an emotion arises, the story that comes with it allows it to surface. It's like it needs to be shared. It's something that needs to be spoken or expressed. Once it's done that, then the story, that would be the moment of what's the word I'm looking for? Integrity, or you take the story, it's done its job, put it to the side, stay with the energy. And then that energy, let it do what it wants to do. It's no longer my energy, it's God's energy, it's God's emotion. If it's grief, for example, and I've allowed my personal layer to do its thing and to say its story, but then off it goes, and then still maybe it becomes grief, maybe and so that was one thing I wanted to say about emotions. And then when we go into the body just and explore just sensations, and when we go deeply, we're going to find emotions. If we go to areas of resistance in the now, moments of very ancient fear might surface, or sadness, and it comes right in the moment, right out of the body, because so anyway, emotions are very important, very, very important aspect, because they really are. Is that me doing that noise? Did you hear that noise? Don't worry.
Yes, probably, but that's okay.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought I turned off my little notifications, but I guess
it's interesting to explore the because emotions are, they're not quite as physical as body sensations, but they clearly have an element of being felt in the body.
Yes.
And so that can be witnessed, that can be, we can be present to that just as we're present to physical sensations.
Yes.
And certainly, yes, if we focus in on areas in the body where there is contraction, where there is tension,
Exactly.
Sometimes emotions will emerge from that.
Yes, exactly. And and with this approach to the body, some of the things that we might do would be to kind of evoke. For example, if I'm awareness, am not located, right? I mean, awareness is not located inside a body. Awareness is unlocated, is free of a center. However, so in this body approach, we would do an exercise. It would be an exercise to evoke the feeling of not being located. So you would expand the body into the space. You would feel the space and the body kind of merge one into the other. You will evoke the feeling of porous skin, and what you encounter as you do that is resistance, opposition, fear. So, and those layers that surface as a result of inviting the body, of having taken our stand as openness, and of inviting the body to relax, those layers surface, and that's very good, because that's all that's needed, is for the layers, the fear, the me feeling, the body feeling, whatever its shape is. It could be deep sadness, terror, all that's needed is for those layers to come up to the surface. And because they're clearly experienced as arising in me, there's no longer that charge to them, that me charge. There can't be a me charge, because they're being perceived, they're arising in me. Awareness. I shouldn't point here, it's not me, it's me awareness. And so there's this kind of really gentle relaxation. And of course, the next day we're right back into our... These are very deep habits. So this exploration of the body, it's like a constant. It's like we have, till we die. Dying will be the ultimate. Dying will be the moment of death would be the ultimate surrendering of the body, of course.
Yeah.
In a way, this yoga would be dying, surrendering the body, dying before dying.
Yes.
Except that the body doesn't die. There's a kind of freeing of the body, and there's a lot of life there as a result. A lot of energy is liberated, a lot of joy in the form of the body, as long as it's alive as a.
Yes. Well, what dies is really the habit of defending the body and keeping it safe and keeping it,
Exactly.
somehow contained within what we perceive to be our boundaries. That's what dies.
Exactly. And the need to assert, and I mean, lots of anything that's egoic can dissolve in its own time. I mean, some things take time, and some patterns really trauma. We can't deny that there's, for some of us, there are some residual patterns that keep on living, keep on being active, and are triggered by situations, relationships, and but it doesn't matter. There's no rush. I mean, if it creates a lot of suffering, then it's a good idea to investigate, and with the body, with the feelings, emotions, and the body, really what's needed usually is love. I mean, it's really quite simple. Love, not as an idea, but as a feeling, as a tactile feeling. But that's not always easy to evoke, is it?
I don't even know it's a feeling. For me, I would just say it's a gentle holding.
That's nice.
That's just willing to be there. And in that holding, whatever shows up, whatever emerges, is just it's held for as long as it needs to be here. And it's let go of when it's ready to leave.
Yes. Yeah, and I would just add that it's good to kind of if it's a sensation or if it's an emotion, to kind of know what it is, and because a sensation needs to be held as if in a bath of openness. A thought needs to be met with, if it's a belief, I'm no good, or I don't know, it has to be met with a self-inquiry, or a quality of. So the holding that we provide our experience is of many faces. I think, if you see what I'm trying to say.
Yes, what I see is simply that, maybe at the level of thought, that gentle holding, it's like it addresses the fear that drives the thought.
Exactly.
Because often, most thoughts are driven by some emotion, some faint.
That's for sure.
Subterranean emotional charge, and so the holding is there for that. And also at the same time, I don't know, these days, for me, the notion of clear seeing seems to be very kind of meaningful. That it's just, what's needed is just a clear seeing of what's actually happening.
Yes.
And when we provide that space, it just becomes very clear. It's like, you look at a thought that arises.
Yeah.
And
the thing is that when you say when we provide that space, the key is who is the we that provides the space. In a way,
yes,
it's not that we
it's
don't
not
provide the
us.
space.
Sure.
Well, we know ourselves as the space.
Yes.
So it's almost like we have to kind of, first of all, turn away from the objects of experience back to
Yes.
to the source,
Yes.
to the
Yes.
openness,
Yes.
and to see clearly that all experience inherently is held in awareness. I mean, everything that appears is, by definition, arising in awareness,
Yes.
made of awareness, dies in awareness. So I mean, really, we that is the main exploration, right? I mean, and then we can turn back towards experience, as you say, and it's beautiful what you say. It's right. I mean, it's right. It's yeah. It's a very simple thing, isn't it? And yet we need to be reminded so strongly, pointed towards that so firmly by our friends or teachers or by life itself.
Yes, I mean, my teacher Gangaji always spoke of vigilance,
Yeah.
which comes from her teacher Papaji.
Yes.
And it's very true, I mean, there needs to be a willingness to notice in the moment when that awareness has been lost, and
Yes.
somehow the attention has contracted into a meanness,
Yes.
into a sense of
Yeah.
self, into an emotion that's somehow identified with me here,
Yes.
this body,
Yes.
or whatever it is, a thought,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. Yeah.
thought to be true without being investigated.
Exactly.
Or a sensation. And I would like to come back to the body.
Yeah.
Because it just seems to me that the visual...
You've come back to that. Tell me.
Yes, the visual sense is so crucial because it keeps giving us this perception of a separate body that's located in space, that has clear boundaries here, right here, head, shoulders, arms, hands, it's all very clearly delineated.
Yes.
And so,
but
I thought
you would have, look, it's very true.
Let me just finish.
Yes.
So,
sorry.
So, what was interesting in how you guided us in this exploration was that what happens is that sense of clearly delineated space, visually delineated space, disappears. And instead, what is there is simply the spaciousness of awareness in which all of this, in which sensations simply just appear.
Yes.
And it's easier to do that without the visual sense.
That's true.
But, to do that with the visual sense, I imagine is just incredibly challenging because the conditioning is so immediate.
That's true.
And so, as soon as you open your eyes, you see your
the
body,
world. Well,
the other body.
As soon as you open your eyes, the world seems to jump out, and I seem to stay or reside here.
Yes.
So you're right. That's why for a long time when we explore in this approach, we work with eyes closed. But it's important at a certain time to begin to to align the visual sense with the understanding.
Yes. Yes.
That same understanding, and like right now, for example, if you close your eyes and you reestablish the presence of awareness, the presence of this openness that perceives every experience. So just I am the sky, and in the sky arises the thought, the sound of the voice, the sound of Ellen's voice, the sensation of the body against the chair. Anything that is perceived is a cloud in this open sky that I am. And now, we're going very quickly, so I'm just giving a taste of how we might work with the visual sense. But first of all, sense this, be aware of the sensation of the eyes, with eyes closed, just the energy, the density behind the forehead, the sensation that we call the eyes. Don't do anything with it, don't manipulate it. In a way, take the label away and just be with the raw sensation on the left and on the right. And see very clearly that the sensation called the eyes appears in this perceiving open sky of awareness. I am aware of this sensation that I call the eyes. And penetrate the eye cavity on the left side, just with your sensing, with your tactile sense. Feel that you just explore the eye cavity on the left side. Let all the tensions that live there bubble up to the surface. No agenda, you just welcome the sensations and let them either expand into the surrounding open space or not. But begin to feel a sense of, possibly on the left side, of deepening into the eye cavity, that the eye cavity on the left side expands, relaxes, deep inside the skull. And don't make it happen. It doesn't have to happen. If there's resistance or tension, that's perfectly okay. That's the layers of the thinker and the seer at the level of the body. So just let them be there. And now go to the right eye cavity, touching it with your sensing, with your tactile sense. Visualizing the right eye cavity like a big cave, letting it open up deep inside the skull. Feeling all sorts of different sensations. Some are pleasant, some are unpleasant. But I don't mind, I'm just exploring. No judging. Feel the eyeballs, left and right. Maybe they're tight and compact. Maybe breathing into the eyeballs. Letting the eyeballs rest in the eye cavities. Relax. And when we explore the eyes, we become aware of a lot of tension there, a lot of contraction, a lot of feelings of being located there, behind the eyes, behind the forehead. So it's a very natural, very common conditioning of the body. So we mustn't be in a rush to do anything about it. It's rather to welcome these layers and see that they appear in this open sky. Let them be bathed by the openness. Let the openness caress the sensations. And even maybe the openness penetrates into the eyes, so that the eyes become more and more relaxed, more and more expanded, perhaps. Nobody living there. They're just these beautiful instruments for awareness to play with. There's no individual seer or thinker. But nevertheless, there's this wave that can open its eyes. But they're the eyes of God. They're not the eyes of a separate entity. And not just, we're going to just play with opening the eyes. Oh, don't open them wide. Let yourself, let the eyes open a tiny bit and then close and open just very slowly. Feeling even the movement of opening and closing is effortless, weightless. And whatever change there is in the experience, because obviously as the eyes open, there's a visual perception. And as the eyes close, it changes. Feel that you, awareness, you remain present throughout this changing experience. You don't move. Nothing moves out of you. The visual perception is appearing right inside of you, just like the sound of this voice, just like the breath. And let the eyes open bigger, very slowly, and close. And then at one point, maybe you open the eyes as bigger, and you see the face of Grace or Ellen. And the name, the thought that comes with the visual perception. Memories, layers of thoughts come into play. But where do they appear? They don't appear outside of me, awareness. That would be a I mean, it's just a little taste, but you it's so beautiful, this approach, because you really can purify, in a sense, the sight and hearing and smelling and tasting and touching. Not purify in a moral way, but purify in the sense of relax. Mm-hmm. You know, if I don't feel that I'm this separate thinker or seer or hearer, if I'm not constantly defending, averting, preferring, comparing, which that's the separate entity. Mm-hmm. But if rather I somehow have relaxed into this tactile, loving, life-loving free and open. I can't put the words, but you get my gist.
Yes, thank you. It was beautiful. I became very aware of there being a lot of tension in the eyes.
Yes.
And also, interestingly enough, a kind of doing tension.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
That
Absolutely. Behind that area in the head is a very important area to explore, because it's the headquarters. It seems to be the headquarters.
Yes, that's a good,
right?
It's a good word.
I mean, the amount of thinking that seems to take place in this poor little. Yeah. Meanwhile, nobody's ever seen a thought in a brain. But there's a lot of tension and exertion.
Yes.
To perpetuate this feeling of me the thinker, me the seer. It requires a lot of effort. So when we start to explore, that's what comes into our experience. It's the layers of tension.
Yes.
And then we think the tendency when there's a lot of tension is to want to get rid of the tension, or to think, oh, I'm not succeeding, this isn't working. And actually not at all.
Well, that's where the gentle holding and clear seeing comes in. I mean, that's all it takes.
Exactly.
Even just seeing, I'd never done anything like this, but even just noticing that tension, that doing tension, and that's the best I can describe it.
That's right.
Already undoes it.
Exactly.
That's all it takes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because, and you really, when you say gentle holding, it means that you really are close to it, intimate with it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want it to go away. You don't have an agenda, and you come so close that at first you see it for what it is, just an innocent sensation. And then even closer, so that it in a way, it recognizes that its home is you, that it's, it's beautiful. I mean, I think true healing.
Yeah. So, Ellen, I think the moment has come to open things up for people who are watching.
Sure.
To see whether there are any questions or people who want to come on to the Hangout. So I will take a minute just to check on the YouTube thread what's happening there.
Okay.
And maybe also to post the link to the Hangout there. Actually, I'm just going to do that right now. Okay. Actually, somebody says that's too bad. Very hard to listen to you because of the feedback.
Oh no.
Got some people come in there. Linda Ananda says, thank you, beautiful Ellen. The investigation and exploration between the eyes and in the head was excellent and exactly what was needed. So nobody seems to want to come on so far. I'm just posting the link.
Sure.
Yeah, so let's see what happens. It's always an adventure. Waiting for somebody maybe to join us. Let me come back to a second question that Mary wrote to ask you in case she couldn't come on. And the question is, knowing this, knowing the fact that that once we understand we are not the body, how do we live in the body moment to moment once we know we are not the body and that we are all one? So how is that lived moment to moment?
Well, you see, we don't need to answer that question, because once there's a real understanding, it's not a conceptual understanding, it's a knowing that I am not the body. It doesn't mean that...
How do we live in the body moment to moment? Okay.
Something's going on.
Yes, somebody's just joined. I've muted you. You need to turn off the... Sorry, not you, Ellen, the person who joined. So you need to turn off your YouTube. You need to turn off your YouTube window because there's sound from the YouTube page. So once you've turned off the YouTube watch page, then you can unmute yourself. Okay? Okay. So, Ellen, sorry, can you go back to answering?
So the question is, how do I live? How does the body? What happens with the body once I've understood that I'm not the body on a day-to-day basis? Well, when I've understood I'm not the body, it's because I've understood that I am this beautiful, unlocated openness, this aliveness, and that everything that is experienced within me and is made of me. So the body becomes this, it's liberated from this kind of impossible mission to be the cage for the separate entity. And what the body then is experienced as is this kind of flow of energy, aliveness. It echoes our true nature. So the body, as you know, when it's a happy body, it likes to... It feels relaxed and open and easy, and it's the way by which I, awareness, know myself to be openness, to be aliveness, to be expression, to be playful, to be, you see, if you ask the question, you know because you've had moments where you knew that I am not the body. When you were a little child, running down the hill, or dancing, or a moment of love with your loved one, a moment where there is a recognition of myself as awareness. It might not be formulated like that by the mind, but in those moments the body is felt as a beautiful quality of openness.
So I think we have somebody who is ready to ask a question here. Andre, do you have a question? Hi.
Actually.
Hi there.
Let me mute on YouTube. Hold on a second.
I'll just turn your sound down a little bit, Andre.
Okay, actually, I have no idea what's going on here. I just joined.
Okay.
I just wanted to listen and see what's going on.
Okay, you're welcome to.
Is it a problem?
No, I'm just going to mute you then, Andre.
Okay.
And if you're ready to ask a question, you can unmute yourself. Okay. All right. Thank you. And there's TDJ. I don't know what your name is. Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
This is the first time I've done this, so thanks for bearing with me. So my question has to do with caring for the body. Some people might call it radical self-care. For some people that have lived their life in a way where spirituality didn't include the body, and then there's an awakening, and then there's a sense that there's the body has not been included and needs to be included. So, but not in a way of worshiping in the body, but in the way of maybe being able to respect the temple. And I think Ayurveda has practices, you know, that are like that, and even yogas to some extent. But my question is, if we're doing these practices, how do we do them in a way that we don't just strengthen the body-mind?
Very good question. Were you there for the whole session?
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully I communicated a taste of. You see, when you go to do a yoga class or a Ayurvedic session, and you go there to feel better as a body-mind, that's a very different. Are you there?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very different point of departure than if you take your point of departure having established yourself as awareness, and then going to an Ayurvedic session or a yoga class. So the way not to strengthen the body-mind is to know that you're not the body-mind, and to feel that, and so that then you can give the body exercise or massage or in inquiry, which is what I shared with you today, a deeper inquiry of the body. You can give the body what it loves in order to help it remember its true nature. And you're the one who has to discriminate when you're perpetuating the sense of being a body-mind and when you're moving in the direction of surrendering the body to its source. You're the one who can know. Nobody can tell you.
Yeah, I can tell you that when I exercise, I notice that my own mind starts becoming driven and starts thinking that there's things that need to be done.
Yes.
So I feel like the egoic programming is strengthening, but at the same time, I have some physical things going on in the body where the body is not strong, and I feel like maybe exercise isn't the way, but there is some health issues where I need to build strength. So
yes, but you know, you could explore exercise, exerting yourself, but still taking your stand as awareness, so that the movements and the energy and the exertion are done as awareness, not as a me that's trying to get to a goal. So to do it with just with enjoyment and dynamism and a sense of effort, but a more impersonal sense of effort. You can go for a run or go to the gym, and if the mind starts going, just see. You don't have to go. You don't have to take the train of the thinking. You just watch the mind going, and it's interesting to watch the mind going and to watch the habit of the mind. And actually, if you see the mind, you know, that achiever mind starting, trace it back to the body, as Grace suggested earlier. When there's a lot of thinking going on, it usually means that there's a kind of feeling there, a tension in the body. And I would explore it. I think exercise is very, you know, the body likes to exercise. And
thank you.
You're welcome.
Maybe just to add to that how do I say this? You know, when you notice the effort that sets in and the doing and that driven quality, well, the mere noticing means you know there's a possibility of relaxing that. You know, you can continue the efforting, or you can relax and do it more playfully, and then it's a very different experience.
Yeah, the efforting doesn't have to do with the exercise. It's more like I become aware of thoughts of things I want to do later. It's like it just gets me, you know, because my vitality is coming back. It seems that the vitality is in the egoic conditioning that wants to be a doer instead of a beer.
Mm.
But then maybe the task would be to come back to sensing the body as you're exercising, and as your mind draws you into the future, come right back into sensing the body. And
Okay.
but at the same time, there's nothing wrong with thinking about what you're going to do. You know, don't make it. I guess you're the one who can discriminate whether or not it's a bit neurotic and you're avoiding something by thinking ahead. If you're avoiding something, come back to the body, feel the body.
It sounds to me that you're actually really enjoying having more energy, and you know, why
Yeah.
not just enjoy it at a very physical level and let the other things to be taken care of after.
Yeah, I think that in the past, when I had the physical energy, I used it in a very driven way, and then I lost the physical energy. So I think there is a little bit of a fear of now I want the physical energy back, but I don't want it so I can just go and spend it in a very driven, unconscious way, right?
I wouldn't worry too much about what you're going to about the. Just enjoy the energy and see where it takes you, but make it simpler for yourself. Don't bring the past to bear on the now. You know, just be fresh with this energy.
Okay.
But I guess if you find yourself futurizing a lot as a way to avoid the now, then you know, be aware of that. Come back to feeling the body, feeling the vitality for no reason. As you say, why should it be of any use other than your enjoyment?
Okay.
It will be there.
Thank you.
I have to address something because there is a question on the on YouTube. If you could answer that.
Yes, I was going to get to that, Andre.
I don't even know.
I like how Andre is. He's your assistant, Grace.
Yes, that's right. So let me.
Yes, please answer that.
Okay. So George says that I feel sometimes that my body is controlled by two sides. Is there any explanation for that?
Two sides. I'm not sure what he means by that.
Yes, maybe you could
I think like two
clarify that.
personalities.
Is he going to clarify two sides? Does he mean actually right and left, or does he mean?
I think he's talking about personalities, like.
Well, Andre, we shouldn't assume what he means, so maybe let's wait to see.
You are right. Yes. You're absolutely.
Andre, is it your question, or is it the question of somebody you know?
No.
Okay.
Are we waiting for George, or?
No, I don't think so. I don't think we should wait for him.
So, Ellen, does anything come to you to say?
I don't really know what that question means. It's not clear enough to say for me what he means by two sides. I don't. Ooh, I'm hearing feedback.
Yeah.
So no, I don't have anything to say in response. If it were clearer, I'd be happy to try and respond.
So just to say, George, if you could clarify, that would be great. Meanwhile, there is another question. So I'm just going to mute the two of you that are on the Hangout because to kind of prevent feedback. It's a question from D. I can feel a contraction when a false thought enters my mind. Is there a way I can determine whether to just not go there or whether to explore?
Well, it sounds, Dee, that you say a false thought. So I assume by that you mean a thought that's revolving around the separate self. And then you've noticed that in the body that thought is accompanied by a tension or a contraction. So you've done quite well. In a way, you've already done, it's quote unquote done. Once you see clearly that a thought is revolving around a non-existing separate entity, you can just drop that thought. You just see that it arises in you, awareness, and there's no need to kind of unpack the thought. You can just drop it, unless so that would be my suggestion. And then the feeling that you describe is probably what gave rise to that thought, the tension, the contraction. So that feeling, again, you don't need to manage that feeling or get rid of that feeling. As Grace would say, it's the gentle holding, it's the welcoming of that feeling, which is a bodily sensation. If you really welcome it, you see that it's just a bodily sensation. It's innocent. It's and you just give it space, and you give it to the space in a way. You are the space, and you take a bit of time. You listen to that feeling, to that tension, and then you let it surface completely, and it might give rise to other layers. So you just spend a bit of time there, but you don't have an agenda really for things to move this way or that, because you already know what you are. I hope that helps.
That's great. Thanks, Alan. And George has come back to us about his question.
Yeah.
He says, I mean like two people, two personalities.
Wow. Well, whether you have one or two or 10, they all are arising in infinite, open, impersonal awareness. So, can you read the question? What was it, Grace? Was it the body? I feel my body is something of two sides.
I feel sometimes that my body is controlled by two sides.
Wow, you're lucky. I mean, I've got way more. Way more. I would just be curious about it, George. I don't know what you think, Grace. I think the two sides seem to be kind of maybe two facets, you could say two personalities, or two facets of your personality, and just explore them. But having taken your having anchored yourself as that which perceives those two facets. If there are two sides, which one's the real one? Probably neither one. The real side is the non-side, that which perceives these two sides. But the fact that there's a division or a split, there might be a feeling there, a feeling of being split, a feeling of, and that requires a deep exploration. Both, I don't know you, George. I don't even see you at the moment, but I would think that it would merit some exploration, some deep welcoming. But I don't know you enough, so I can't say more than that.
Maybe I could just add, what's speaks to me about this, about your question, is that somehow I get a sense that one side wants to control the other. Like one side is okay and the other isn't. And so, you know, that can be explored. And maybe it needs to be explored also in a therapeutic context with somebody who's experienced and whose presence you can let you support yourself. So, yeah, that's what I would add. Dee has come back to us. She says, this is a chronic feeling of contraction. It continues to arise. I don't know whether giving it attention is feeding it and contributing to its strength. Thank you for your help. That's a very common question.
Yes.
So, Ellen.
I think that it's very hard for me to say for you, Dee, but I think it's a very good point that there's sometimes feelings just, they have this kind of magnetic, sticky way of drawing our attention. You know, that's actually how condition works. It's like this magnetic, sticky, and then inertia. We stay kind of stuck there in that contraction, in that feeling, in that me feeling. So you're right that it may be that just in a way, when you find yourself in that feeling, kind of shrunk back into that contraction, use it as a springboard yourself into the openness. Don't give it too much attention. Don't explore it. If that resonates, if when I say that it resonates, since you're yourself suggesting that possibility, I would definitely encourage that. Especially if it's a feeling that you feel you've explored, and you know it's a bit of a habit and a bit of a kind of inertia. So yes, I think that's a good instinct on your part.
It's funny, you know, do you mind if I come into this too?
Not at all. Quite the opposite.
You know, my sense is also, I would totally embrace what you say, Ellen. And my sense is that sometimes if feelings keep coming up, you know, they keep being sticky, they keep drawing you in. You know, what comes to me is there's a need for loving attention. Not in the way. There's a need for loving attention, not in the indulging way, but in the clear seeing, loving kind of way.
Yes.
You know, probably there's something that drives this thing that keeps coming back. Some need, some pain maybe that needs to be seen more clearly. And you know, again, I mean, we're talking about things that often would come up in a therapeutic context or context of, you know, counseling. But you can be that loving presence to yourself and to whatever it is that keeps wanting you to see that, keeps wanting to bring this up.
That's very true too, Grace.
It's really all in the intimacy of that experience, you know, that it reveals itself, doesn't it? Isn't it? Just as, you know, for me, in the intimacy of that spacious, allowing sensations around the eyes, revealed
The
tension. You know, I had no idea.
Yes.
But
Yes.
here it was, and that in itself kind of makes its way somehow.
Exactly.
And you know, maybe what's important to realize is that this is not in the spirit of indulging and being stuck. It's in the spirit of being in that spacious exploration. And
yes.
Yeah.
And if something comes back, you're right. Chances are there's still a kind of agenda with it or resistance. It hasn't fully been welcomed. It hasn't fully.
Yeah. So George says, "Thank you for clarifying my situation and for the wise words." And you know, I just want to say, I think we all have multiple personalities.
Yes,
you know, that's the nature
definitely.
of the game. And yeah, we'll discover more and more as we explore. Well, seems like we've come to a close. Thank you so much, Alan.
You're so welcome. Pleasure.
And thank you for guiding us in these explorations. I'd really, you know, if people have if you're watching and you rush through the explorations, I'd really encourage you to take the time and really do them.
Yeah.
Because you're in for some very interesting discoveries. So thank you for coming on to Andre, and I still don't know your name. TDJ.
TDJ.
Oh, she's muted. Yes. So thank you for coming on and asking your questions. Sorry, did you want to?
Yeah, I was going to say my name is Dia, and I don't know how to program yet where you put in a name. Since this is the first time I've done the Google Hangup, I just kept clicking, and somehow I ended up here.
Nice to see you here.
Yes, nice to see you, Dia, and thank you for being courageous enough to come on. And
thank you, Grace.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you to all of you for watching. And at this point, there's nothing settled yet in terms of future conversations or retreats. Keep looking at the Living from Love website. You can also put your name down for the newsletter list. And if you enjoyed the conversation, please also, I'm very open for donations to support this. There's some costs involved in bringing this to you. So thank you for chipping in to this. And thanks again, Alan. And
you're welcome.
I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.